Good afternoon, television fans. Big Al here on this Thursday, April 2nd, 2026, and welcome back to episode number 30 of Television Station History. And in this finale of the Los Angeles television market, we'll be taking a look at the area's Telemundo station, KVEA. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. And here we go with the history of KVEA. And as always, information is courtesy of Wikipedia. KVEA Channel 52 is a television station licensed to Corona, California, serving the Los Angeles area. It is the West Coast Flagship station of the Spanish-language network Telemundo, owned and operated by NBC Universal's Telemundo Station Group, alongside NBC West Coast Flagship KNBC Channel 4. The two stations share studios at the Brokaw News Center in the northwest corner of the Universal Studios Hollywood lot off Lankershim Boulevard in Universal City. Channel 52's transmitter is located on Mount Wilson. And now, here are the specs of KVEA, Corona, Los Angeles. The station broadcasts on Virtual Channel 52 and RF Digital Channel 25, and is branded on air as Telemundo 52, or Telemundo 52. We'll talk about the sub-channels towards the end. The station is owned by NBC Universal's Telemundo Station Group. The license is held by NBC Telemundo License LLC and is a sister station to KNBC Channel 4, which is the West Coast flagship of NBC. The station signed on the air on June 29, 1966 as KMTW-TV. Hi, Christine. How are you? The station would then become KBSC-TV in 1968 before becoming KVEA in 1985. The station previously broadcast on UHF Analog Channel 52 from 1966 to 2009, and on RF Digital Channel 39 until 2019. The station would begin as an independent from 1966 to 1982, and then adding the subscription television service On TV from 1977 to 1985. It was then 1985 the station would affiliate with NetSpan. Hi, Sonia, how goes it? Of course, NetSpan would become Telemundo in 1987. Call sign VA or VEA is Spanish for watch. Licensing authority is the FCC. Their facility ID number is 19783. They broadcast with an effective radiated power of 620,000 watts. Their transmitter on Mount Wilson sits 988.9 meters or 3,244 feet above average terrain. They do operate translator station K148T on Channel 14 in Ridgecrest, California. Their website is www.telemundo52.com. Channel 52 was established as KMTW, an independent television station owned by Kaiser Broadcasting, which became KBSC-TV in 1968. Kaiser explored several paid television systems to operate using the station, but none materialized until Oak Industries acquired the station and made it the first and most successful operation in On TV, boasting as many as 400,000 subscribers at its zenith. As subscription television declined, Oak sold KBSC-TV in 1985 to a group that relaunched it as Spanish-language KVEA and was instrumental in the foundation of Telemundo. Now to the station's history, beginning with the foundation. On November 14, 1962, the Federal Communications Commission granted Kaiser Broadcasting, a division of Kaiser Industries, a construction permit for a new Channel 52 television station to be licensed in Corona. The station, named KICB before construction, signed on as KMTW from studios and a transmitter on Mount Wilson on June 29, 1966. Kaiser had developed a chain of independent television stations in large cities that generally lacked independent stations at the outset. The Kaiser independents in such cities as Detroit, WKBD-TV, Philadelphia, WKBS-TV, and Cleveland, WKBF-TV, for instance, were typically the first or second such non-network outlets in operation. Los Angeles presented a very different market with 3 network stations, 4 VHF independents already operating, and with KMTW activated, 4 UHF stations. Kaiser knew it would need a different approach. Before signing on, it took an option on the PhoneVision subscription television system developed by Zenith Electronics and licensed by Teco, gaining the right to use it in the Los Angeles market. However, PhoneVision's ability to be used nationally in legal cases over subscription television in California had left the system unapproved by the time Channel 52 started broadcasting. Instead, KMTW subsisted on public service films, travel logs, and other cheap fare. On February 20th, 1968, KMTW became KBSC-TV, representing its ownership, Kaiser Broadcasting, and its region, Southern California. The PhoneVision agreement expired in 1970, and the FCC gave approval the next year for Kaiser to build using studios at 5746 Sunset Boulevard, also known as Metro Media Square, which was home to future Fox station KTTV Channel 11. The gulf between KBSC-TV and its sister stations grew wider. In August 1972, Kaiser transferred the licenses for 5 of its stations to a partnership with Field Communications, of which it would own 77.5%. KBSC-TV was held out of the joint venture because it was scheduled to be sold. 2 months later, Kaiser announced it would seek to sell the station to the Pay Television Corporation in a transaction filed with the FCC in February 1973. The largest owner of Pay Television Corporation was John Marianne McDonald. The application remained pending at the FCC for nearly 2 years. Ultimately, the company opted to franchise its technology and not be a station owner, resulting in the purchase being canceled in February 1975. Next up is the on-TV years. In December 1975, Kaiser filed to sell KBSC-TV to Oak Broadcasting Systems, a joint venture of television equipment manufacturer Oak Industries and Jerry Parenchio. The $1.2 million transaction, which would close the next year, set the course for Channel 52 to become the first station in their planned subscription television venture, as Oak moved the studios from Metro Media Square to a site on Grand Central Avenue in nearby Glendale, California. On April 1st, 1977, 500 test subscribers in the San Fernando Valley became the first customers of On TV, a subscription service broadcast over Channel 52 that often unedited, uninterrupted motion pictures as well as limited slates of Los Angeles Dodgers, California Angels, Los Angeles Lakers, and Los Angeles Kings games during evening hours. It was the second subscription television system in operation, with Wometco Home Theater having launched in New York City the previous month. Japanese and Korean language programs that were seen on Channel 52 under lease time agreements migrated to a new station, KSCI Channel 18, when that station launched on June 30th. This allowed On TV to air during evening hours beginning at 8 p.m. On TV proved to be a success in its early years of operation, and nowhere was this more apparent than in Southern California, despite the arrival of Select TV on KHWY TV Channel 22 the next year. By April 1979, the service was signing up 12,000 subscribers a month. By that year, it had grown its sports portfolio beyond the Dodgers, Angels, Lakers, and Kings to include USC Trojans college sports and Los Angeles Aztecs soccer, as well as horse racing from Santa Anita Park. The STD venture transformed Oak Industries itself. In 1979, the company moved its headquarters from Crystal Lake, Illinois, to the new planned community of Rancho Bernardo, California, to be closer to the entertainment industry. Meanwhile, KVEA TV changed its commercial program format to Spanish shows in 1980, airing 74 hours a week of commercial shows in Spanish and giving the market a second choice for Spanish language viewing. Most of its Spanish language shows include news from Mexico, were sourced from Mexico's Canal 30 or Channel 13. On TV grew nationally, with Oak and Chartwell developing operations separately, though the two remain partners in the Los Angeles operation. This arrangement, however, came into doubt in March 1981. The two sides disagreed over Panicio's appointment of William M. Siegel, the chief executive of Chartwell, as the general manager of National Subscription Television Los Angeles. Oak refused to consent to the appointment and claimed that Chartwell and Parencio had surreptitiously placed Siegel on the payroll. It was reported that Oak had no dispute with Siegel but wanted to affirm its authority as 51% owner of the venture. Oak chairman Carter was surprised to learn that Siegel made more money than he did. Further, Parencio drew Oak's ire when the Chartwell On TV operation in Detroit ordered new decoder boxes from one of Oak's competitors. Oak and Chartwell settled that September. The suit was dropped and Oak bought out Chartwell's 49% share of National Subscription Television for $55 million. By May 1982, On TV in Southern California had reached its zenith, 400,000 subscribers, representing 2/3 of Oak's base of some 600,000 paying customers in its 5 On TV markets not counting Detroit, Cincinnati, or Portland. After the FCC repealed a rule in late 1982 that required television stations offering a subscription service to broadcast at least 20 hours a week of unencrypted programming, KBSC began running on TV 24 hours a day and displaced its existing Spanish language daytime programming. However, the TV industry took a national nosedive moving into 1983. National recession and the increased penetration of cable television created new and immediate financial headwinds for old and on TV. In March 1984, the company announced that it was being investigated by the Security and Exchange Commission, or the SEC, and it posted a loss of $166.1 million for 1983. One of the company's auditors, Arthur Anderson, qualified its statement, fearing that Oak could not fully realize its $134 million investment in subscription television. After having shuttered 2 on-TV operations in markets with combated station owners and high cable penetration, those being Dallas, Fort Worth, and Phoenix, Oak moved to sell station in the Miami market in 1984 to John Blair and Company, which planned Spanish language programming. Oak intended to get out of Los Angeles next. In August, after a year of speculation, it emerged that Oak was to sell Los Angeles to Select TV, which had competed alongside On TV for 6 years in the Southern California market. A deal was initially reached, then collapsed. However, Select TV ultimately acquired the Los Angeles operation, by then with just 156,000 subscribers in February 1985. And now KVEA. The same month that Oak Broadcasting sold the on-TV subscriber base to Select TV, the company reached a deal to sell KBSC TV itself to investor group Australia Communications, headed by former Brazilian television network lead Joe Wallach, in a $30 million transaction. All right, here's a quote from Paul Niedermeyer, the first general manager of KVEA. Financially, the market is more than ripe for a second station. Our success does not come at the expense of Channel 34. Select TV programming aired for a time on KBSC while the new owners readied the station's next chapter until October 11th. Then on November 24th, 1985, KVEA debuted. The new Spanish-language station sought to be an alternative to KMEX, the dominant outlet in Southern California, with a wider range of U.S. and Latin American shows than KMEX's mostly Mexican fare and children's programming, as well as local news and a news magazine program. The creation of a second Spanish-language network had first been mooted in 1984. Netspan's founding affiliates were WNJU in New York, ethnic independent KSCI Channel 18 for the Los Angeles market, and Chicago's WBS-TV. By 1980, KEA replaced KSCI, and WCI in Chicago. The network offered 3 hours a day of programming plus specials. Its communications subsidiary of Reliance Capital Group, led by corporate raider Saul Stolberg. Less a year after starting up KVEA, Reliance acquired John Blair and Company, which agreed to be purchased for $300 million to avoid a hostile takeover. The deal unified KVEA, with WSCV, the Miami area station OCAST sold off 2 years prior, and WKQ-TV in San Juan, Puerto Rico. In October 1986, Reliance then bought WNJU in New York. On January 12, 1987, NET became Telemundo, supplying additional programming and national news, which helped the station attract national advertisers. The investment in KVEA quickly paid off. By February 1987, the 15-month-old operation had achieved a 34% stake of the Spanish-speaking audience in Los Angeles, with the market having grown large enough that KMEX did not lose any of its audience. It covered community events in Spanish, produced 11.5 hours of local news a week, aired a weekly half-hour highlight show of the Los Angeles Dodgers, hosted by longtime Dodgers Spanish language voice Jaime Karen. Furthermore, KVEA was the production base for new Spanish language shows screened nationally, including La Piñata de los $25,000, or the $25,000 Piñata, the first nationally syndicated Spanish language game show. At the end of the 1980s, KVEA came under some criticism for lack of representation of Mexicans, who comprised 90% of Channel 52's viewership in management. After Frank Cruz, a former KNBC news anchor who had been with the station since the 1985 launch, left in early 1989, 3 ranking Mexican staffers resigned together that June. The dispute escalated into calls by the National Hispanic Media Coalition for an advertising boycott of the station and picketing of its studios by protesters who felt the station favored Cubans in hiring and programming. KVEA's next bout of station turmoil came in 1997. Between February and August, 7 longtime staffers were dismissed for supposed budgetary reasons, though one anchor, Ana Cecilia Granados, alleged that new manager Jose Ronstadt had a bias towards Mexicans and ousting her. Meanwhile, employees sought to unionize the EA. They voted to form a union, but management refused voluntary recognition. Another boycott threatened. KVEA recognized the union in November, right before the start of a rating survey. On January 15, 2001, KVEA launched an expanded news department, doubling its budget and its weekday output, as well as adding weekend news programs for the first time. The network then purchased KWHY-TV Channel 22, its former pay TV competitor and later a Spanish-language independent, for $239 million in June 2001, creating a duopoly. Work was already underway on a comprehensive overhaul of Channel 52 studios, and Channel 22 was then integrated into the operation. NBC acquisition. In October 2001, NBC announced it would buy Telemundo. The combination of the two parties owned 3 stations in the market. The FCC conditioned approval of the Telemundo acquisition on the divestiture of KWHY. Integration of the two operations took a major step forward in 2003, when 250 Telemundo employees moved to KNBC's studios in Burbank. KWHY sales and programming functions remained in Glendale, while NBC fought for a waiver to keep all 3 stations. The next year, the FCC revisited or revised its media ownership rules to only allow ownership of 3 stations in the largest markets. NBC would sell off Channel 22 in 2011 to the Murillo Group as a condition of its merger with Comcast. In 2007, NBC announced that it would move its Los Angeles local operation to a site at Universal Studios Hollywood. The complex was completed in 2014 with separate studios for both Channels 4 and 52, plus a shared newsroom. Despite being an integrated operation unlike KNBC, KVEA's anchors and reporters remained non-union until voting 18-1 to unionize with SAG-AFTRA in January 2023. News operation. Local news programming on Channel 52 began with the KVEA relaunch in the form of a 15-minute news program called KVEA Noticias. One of the station's early coups was the station's coverage of the 1986 San Salvador earthquake, which drew new news viewers and started competition with KMEX. This quickly expanded into a full news service, and the station produced 11 and a half hours of local news a week by 1987. To daily 6 and 11 p.m. news programs, KVEA added morning and midday newscasts, with the news department expanded in January 2001, doubling its budget. In October of that year, a 5 a.m. newscast also debuted. In 2002, Channel 52 notched its first win at 11 p.m. since November 1993. Eduardo Quezada, who had worked at Channel 34 for 28 years and had previously been described as a Los Angeles institution at KMEX, resigned from his position at that station and joined KVEA in 2003, citing the attention NBC was giving the news department and its then airing of 6 hours a day of local news, doubling Channel 34's output. By 2007, Quezada had resigned to become the vice president of news and public relations for Una Vez Mas Holdings. In 2007, Los Angeles Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa admitted that he had an extramarital affair with Marthala Salinas, a Channel 52 reporter who at one time got the political beat. The station suspended her for 2 months without pay for failing to disclose the conflict for interest and reassigned her to KVEA's bureau in Riverside. She failed to report to work there and left the company. Cuts led to the removal of the morning newscast before it was reinstated in 2011, alongside the launch of a new weekly public affairs program. Beginning in 2014, a series of local news expansions at Telemundo had added hours to news to KVEA's output. A 5:30 p.m. show debuted on Channel 52 and 13 other Telemundo stations on November 3rd, 2014. And then on September 26, 2016, a 5 p.m. half hour was introduced. Okay. Notable on-air staff. Currently at the station, you have Dunia Elver, news anchor, and former on-air staff include Adrian Garcia Marquez, who was a sports anchor from 2002 to 2007, Raul Pimbert, an anchor from 2001 to 2002, and Enrique Gratas, the station's first news director, anchor, and later of Telemundo's Curiosity. Now to technical informations. Subchannels. KVEA is broadcast from a transmitter on Mount Wilson with its digital signal broadcasting on our digital channel 25. The station signal is multiplexed. Alright, so Telemundo programming can be seen on channel 52.1 with 1080i high definition and a 16:9 aspect ratio. Telemundo's sister station, Tele-Exios, can be seen on channel 52.3. Broadcasting at 480i high definition and a 16:9 aspect ratio. And Nosy can be seen on channel 52.4, broadcasting in 480i high definition and a 4:3 aspect ratio. Channel 52.2 is not in use at the present time. Analog to digital conversion. KVEA shuts down its analog signal over UHF channel 52 on January 12, 2009 as part of the federally mandated transition from analog to digital television. The digital signal remained on its pre-transition UHF channel 39 using virtual channel 52. Now that was until 2019 when they moved their digital signal to RF channel 25. And that not only wraps up episode 30 of television station history, that also puts a bow on the Los Angeles television market. So, in our next installment of TV station history, we are headed to the Chicago market. And we'll take a look at WBBM TV in episode number 31. So make sure you join me for that. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. Special shout out to Adoraman E4D1W, Sonia Pacheco, and Christine St. John. Thanks for joining me. All right, Big Al signing off, and I will see you in episode number 31 of TV station history as we begin looking at the Chicago market. For now, peace out.